morning, everyone. Heather here from 8 Wing CFB Trenton. I'm a fitness and sports instructor. I am going to be taking you through a flexibility mobility fusion class this morning. So we're going to take more of a yoga focus this week for class. So we're going to be going through some flows and just kind of slowing things down and focusing a little bit on holding poses a little bit more. Feel free to work at your own pace throughout today's session. So if anything that I'm doing isn't comfortable for you, feel free to go back to the last place that did feel comfortable for you, and always just kind of working at your own level. If you have any questions throughout today's class, feel free to leave them in the comments and we will do our best to answer them. Feel free to play your own music in the background. I won't be playing any music on my end, so if you would like some background noise other than just my direction, feel free to play your own music. I am going to be going through a quick disclaimer before we get started, so this can also be found in the description of this video if you're looking for the links that I'm about to talk about. So in response to COVID-19, PSP is offering virtual fitness to Canadian Armed Forces members. By using social media platforms, the virtual fitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members recognize and acknowledge that their age, health status, and physical fitness level are unknown, and it's entirely up to each individual to assess their ability to participate in this class. Since it is preferable to consult your physician before beginning any exercise program, we invite all participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members to consult the Get Active questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document. If you experience any pain or difficulty during the exercises presented in this video, it is recommended that you stop and consult a healthcare provider. If CAF members sustain an injury during this video, please remember to fill out a CF98. So as I said, the documents that I described are in the description of this video if you're looking for those reference documents, so feel free to check those out if you are not a military member. Otherwise, we are going to get started in just a few moments here, so you don't need any props or equipment for today's class, just yourself and your yoga mat and a bottle of water if you need it, so feel free to take sips of water and take breaks whenever needed throughout class today. So we are going to get started in just a few moments, so come over to your space, find your space on your mat. And we are going to start class today on our backs. So I will have you come on down onto the floor. And we're going to come out into a fully prone start position. So just arms extended down at your sides, legs extended down at your sides. And we're just going to take a few moments to focus on our breath a little bit here. So if you'd like, you can place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And as you breathe, I want you to try to think about which hand lifts first. So if your chest is lifting first, likely you are breathing a little bit more shallowly. So really try to fill the belly with each inhale. And nice big exhales. Breaths. You can stay with your hands on your chest and your belly like that, or you can just bring them down to your sides. Nice big inhales, thinking about filling that belly up with air and releasing all of that air out. Nice. From here, I'm going to have you bring one knee in towards your chest. So just give that knee a nice little hug in. Feel that stretch through the glute, through the hip. And just kind of starting to bring that hip through whatever range of motion feels comfortable this morning. So if you want to shift your grip to underneath your knee, if that's a little bit easier to get some rotations in, feel free to move there now. And we'll take those rotations the other direction. Hello. someone would like to join me on the mat this morning. Good, bring that knee in and extend all the way out along the mat. We're going to take it over to the other side, so pull that knee in, a little squeeze at the top. Just kind of settling into that, having that knee pulled in to start, and then we'll take that knee into some rotations. She just ran into the door on the way out of the room. It's always good. Take the snuggles while we can get them. Bring that knee back in through center and extend all the way out along the mat. So with your arms just down by your sides, we're going to pull both feet in. You can widen the stance of your feet just a little bit, so taking them out wider than hip width apart. And we're just going to let those knees kind of fall side to side. Just getting that kind of nice massage out through the glutes. Nice stretch through the hip, through the low back. And just kind of at your own pace, rocking side to side with those knees. We'll let those knees fall to one side and we'll keep them on that side. And we're going to just slide our arms up, so we're creating kind of more of a T shape with our arms and our torso. And you can turn your head to look the opposite direction from the direction your knees are pointing. Keeping your arms where they are, you're going to turn your head back to look up to the ceiling as your knees come back through center. Drop your knees the other way and look out over that opposite shoulder. Back up at the ceiling as your knees come back up towards center. We're going to slide our hands back down by our sides. And let's walk those feet together so our feet are touching. So feet are touching, knees are touching to start. You're going to let both knees drop out to either side as the bottoms of your feet come together, coming into that nice butterfly stretch. So palms are facing up towards the ceiling to start, and just kind of letting your hips get used to that, settle into that for a moment before we start to add on. So from our stretch here, we are going to add some movement in our arms. So what I'm going to have you do is try to focus on keeping the backs of your hands in contact with the floor the whole time if possible, and thinking of sort of a snow angel motion with those arms. So moving nice and slow. We're going to start with our arms down by our sides, palms facing up, and we're going to slide our hands along the floor. Again, trying to keep the backs of our hands in contact, coming all the way up overhead if possible. If your hands lift up at any point, that's okay. Just kind of work through what you can. And at the top, really just trying to reach through those fingertips. Just getting that nice opening through the chest and shoulders. And just reversing the way that you came up, sliding those hands back along the floor, coming all the way down to your sides. We're going to go through that again. So starting down at your sides, back so the hands in contact, slide all the way up along the floor, reaching up overhead. Let's really reach through those fingertips here. From the top here, what we're going to do, instead of coming all the way back down by our sides, we're going to keep the backs of the hands in contact. We're going to bend into our elbows 90 degrees. So sliding down, and stopping about halfway down. So we're kind of creating a goalpost shape with those arms. So elbows are bent at 90 degrees. Upper arm is perpendicular to our body. And our forearms are kind of parallel with our body. So creating that nice 90-degree angle at the elbow. Really opening up through the chest. Again, if your elbows or your hands are not down on the floor, no worries. Just kind of work through what you can. Try to get that opening through the chest. And we'll slide those arms back up overhead. Reach through those fingertips one last time. And then keeping the backs of the hands in contact, we will slide those hands down along the floor. Coming all the way back down to our sides. Nice job. So from here, we'll bring those knees back together. We're going to pull both knees in towards our chest. We're going to take it just into a side-to-side rock here. From here, we'll come back through center. Let's drop those feet back down. And we're going to roll over onto one side. So I'm going to have you have your bottom arm kind of propped in almost underneath you. And your legs are going to be straight to start. So your hips are stacked one on top of the other. If you have something you want to rest your head on, that's an option. You can also use something to kind of bolster your knee if you need to, but you don't really need any props for this stretch. So I'm going to have you take your top leg and you're going to bend that knee and bring it up towards your chest as high as you can. And you can actually hold onto that knee with your bottom arm. So opposite arm, opposite leg, hold here. And you're really just trying to pull that knee up towards your chest. So foot can rest down on the floor if available. So I'm going to just rest my head down. Again, if this is kind of uncomfortable for your neck, you can kind of stay up or you can place something underneath your head. From here, we are going to bend into our bottom leg. So the leg that's kind of tucked in underneath, we're going to bend at the knee, bring your heel towards our glute. And an option here, if you can, is to try to grab onto that foot with your top arm. So kind of holding onto the top of that foot. If it's uncomfortable to hold your foot with that ankle at your shoulder, you can go with an overhand grip, but underhand grip is generally a little nicer. So you're going to hold onto both feet. So both of our knees are bent. One's kind of tucked in front, one's tucked in behind. And we're trying to relax here. So if you would like, you can add on again by looking out over your back shoulder. So getting a really nice opening through the thoracic spine, through our hips, through our quads. Kind of an all-around great stretch here. Try to relax here for a few more breaths. We can release that as we look back towards the front. You can release both of those legs. And we're just going to roll onto our front here. So from here, we're just going to come into a nice, kind of easy starting back bend. So hands are tucked in underneath your shoulders, forearms are in contact, and we're just going to lift the chest up. So just kind of trying to relax here. Your gaze point can be out on your mat, just slightly out in front of you. And you lower your chest back down towards the mat. We're going to slide our hands underneath our shoulders a little bit more, and just to counteract that back bend, we're going to push all the way up and back, coming into a child's pose. So sitting all the way back on your heels. Arms are extended out in front of you, head rests down on the mat. Really reach through those fingertips. From here, we're going to lift up off of the feet, come all the way forward, so we're kind of in a kneeling plank here, and then we're going to lower all the way back down to the mat. So option here, we're going to get the other side with that stretch that we just did a few moments ago. So if you want to just roll to that side, you're welcome to. I'm going to flip myself around just so you can kind of see what I'm doing from my side, but you don't need to turn all the way around. You're welcome to just kind of turn over. So again, we are gonna lie on our side, so hips are stacked one on top of the other. Our bottom arm is kind of tucked in underneath. Again, if you want something to rest your head on, that's an option. You can also use something to rest your top leg on instead of holding on with that hand. So we're gonna bend into that top leg, pulling that knee up towards our chest as high as we can. And then we're gonna anchor that in with our bottom arm. So we're going opposite arm, opposite leg here. From here, we are going to bend into our bottom knee, bring our heel towards our glute, and then using our top hand, preferably underhand grip if you're able to, you can grab onto that back leg, or that bottom leg, and kind of anchor in both sides. And then if you want to add on again, you can kind of look back over that shoulder to really maximize this stretch, get that nice opening throughout the spine. Doing your best to just kind of settle into this stretch, breathe. Both of those as we kind of turn back towards the front, and we are going to come to roll back onto our stomachs again. So from here we're going to come back into that nice easy back bend, but we're going to try to lift our chest a little bit higher if we can. So coming into more of a Sphinx pose, so our elbows are kind of right underneath our shoulders, and we're just getting a little bit of a higher chest lift here. So instead of our hands kind of being our point of contact, we're just sliding those hands forward a little bit more. So again, just nice, easy back bend to start. We are gonna come back here a little bit later on and we're gonna finish off with a bow pose today. So a few more breaths here. Good. From here, you can start to kind of walk your hands underneath your shoulders a little bit more. We're going to push all the way back, coming back into that child's pose. This time I'm going to have you slide your hands down and just extend them back behind you. So really just kind of trying to relax in, release that lower back. Slide your hands back up about halfway, so not extending out into our full child's pose. We're just going to push up onto our knees here. So again, I'm going to kind of turn myself to face sideways so you can see a front view of what I'm doing, but feel free to just stay at one end of your mat. So from that kneeling position, I'm just going to have you kind of use your hands to support and just kind of fall onto one side. So both feet are kind of tucked into one side. And we're going to do a really great stretch for the side body here. So you can kind of use your hand to anchor onto those feet, other arm, you're just going to reach up overhead and bend towards those feet. We're going to bring that hand down to our side. You can come all the way down on that elbow, and we're going to reach the other arm overhead, getting that stretch on the other side to counterbalance a little bit. Push up off that hand. You can grab onto those feet to anchor on, and we're going to bend to that side. One more time. Bringing that hand down to the floor. You can come right down on your elbow and then reach up overhead. Bring that arm back up. We're going to slide those legs out in front. So our feet are just extended out in front here. And we're going to slide one foot in. Just coming into kind of a half butterfly pose here. We're gonna bring our arms up overhead, and then we're gonna fold forward at the waist to try to reach out towards that extended foot. So my hamstring flexibility is not the greatest, but feel free to work at your own level. So if you can fold farther forward than this, which is highly likely, feel free to do that. Start to come back up tall. We're going to bring that foot out. We'll slide our other foot in. Reach those arms up overhead and fold forward over that extended leg. So really trying to focus on keeping this leg nice and straight. So not kind of tenting up through the knee to make it easier. Foot is flexed and just reaching out as far as you can, preferably with both hands. So really kind of evening out those shoulders. It's a lot easier just to reach with one side, but we want to try to stay kind of folded forward, pointed forward here. Roll yourself back up. We are going to tuck both feet in to the other side. So we're coming back into that side stretch here. So again, we can start off by anchoring onto our feet with our hands. Arm is down by our side. We're going to reach up overhead, bending to that side. Bring that arm down. You can come down all the way onto your elbow and reach the other side to counterbalance a little bit. Push up onto that hand. You can anchor onto those feet and bend towards those feet. And one more time to counterbalance that. You can come down all the way onto your elbow and reach overhead here. Pushing up. Good. So from here, you should still be at one end of your mat if you didn't move to the center like I did. So from that side stretch posture, we are going to come forward onto our hands and our knees. So we're coming into a tabletop position here. So knees are lined up underneath your hips, hands are lined up underneath your shoulders. And from here, we're going to come into our first of our downward facing dog. So hips and hamstring should be opened up a little bit, but again, in our first one, feel free to walk out through the heels a little bit. So we're going to tuck our toes under. We will push those hips up and back, creating that upside down V shape. And we're just going to walk through our heels a little bit, just to kind of open up through calves, ankles, hamstrings. Just working through whatever range feels good this morning. Good. From here, we are going to shift our hips forward. So we're coming into a plank. If you need to adjust your hands slightly, that is fine. From here, we are going to lower down through chaturanga. So if you need to drop to your knees, you're welcome to. So you're going to lower down about halfway. From here, we're going to flip onto our feet, come into an up dog. We've already kind of warmed up our back bend a little bit. And then from here, shift all the way into our downward facing dog. So we're kind of doing a half sun salutation here without coming all the way up. From our downward dog, shift into your plank, lower down, up dog or baby cobra, and downward facing dog. We're going to go one more time. So shift from here to your plank, lower down, baby cobra or up dog, and downward facing dog. Beautiful. From here, we're gonna lift one leg up, coming into three-legged dog. And from our three-legged dog, we are going to drive our knee forward and land that foot kind of between our hands. If it doesn't quite make it that far forward, feel free to adjust. From here, we're gonna drop our back knee down, extend through our back foot, and we're gonna bring those arms up overhead. So coming into a low lunge. From here, we're gonna drop our opposite arm to that front foot. We're gonna rotate towards that front leg. Drop that top hand to the inside of that front foot. And we're gonna now rotate away from that front leg. Drop that hand down. So now both hands should be on the inside of that front foot. We're gonna walk that foot to the outside of our mat and kind of center our hands a little bit. So from here, you're gonna let this front knee, let it fall out to the side. So I'll kind of turn myself here, realizing that you can't really see what my knee is doing from that angle. So both hands are kind of tucked inside. You're gonna let that knee fall out to the side. So you can come up onto the outside edge of your foot if that is comfortable. And then bring it back through center. Let the knee fall out to the side. And back through center. And we'll do one more here. We'll stay here. So feel free to stay in this upright posture if that feels okay. Or an option would be to walk onto your forearms. So if you're gonna try that, you're gonna start with the arm that's farthest away from that front leg. So that would be your forearm that's gonna come down first. Then if you're able to, you can drop to that other one. I'm gonna turn back to the side here. Do one more nice deep breath here. If you're down on your forearms, you can start to walk back onto your hands. Let that foot come back through center. Good. From here, you're gonna tuck your toes under on that back foot, extend through that back leg. And what I'm gonna have you do here is we are gonna try to transition from this posture, this pose, to a side pyramid. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna anchor into our arm that's on the outside of our front foot. So for me, my left foot is forward, so my left hand is gonna be my anchor. I'm gonna rotate onto my inside edge of my right foot, and I'm gonna stick this leg out in front. Other arm is gonna reach overhead. So kind of similar to a side plank, but you almost have that kickstand out in front of you. Arm that's extended up overhead. We're going to drop it down to the mat as we rotate back into our plank. From our plank, lower down, baby cobra or up dog, and downward facing dog. Nice job. Hold here for a few breaths. From here, we're going to go into three-legged dog on the other side. And from here, we'll step our foot through our hands. So coming into that low lunge, drop your back knee, extend through your back foot. And arms are going to reach up overhead. We are going to drop our opposite arm to the floor, so rotating towards that front leg. Other arm reaches up overhead. Drop that hand to the inside edge of that front foot. We're going to rotate open to face the other side. Drop that hand down, so both hands are now to the inside of that front foot. If you'd like, you can walk that foot out to the side slightly, so our hands are just underneath our shoulders. We're gonna let that knee drop out to the side, and come on back through center. Let the knee drop out to the side again, and come back through center. And one more time, we're gonna stay with that knee kind of dropped out to the side. So if you're comfortable here, stay here. If you want more, you can drop down onto your forearms. So if you're gonna try, you're gonna start again with the one that's farthest away from that front leg, coming down onto that forearm, and then down onto your other side. If available, if you can get halfway down, that's fine, you can stay there. You're down on your forearms, you can start to walk yourself back up. So we're gonna, once again, we're gonna try to shift into our pyramid on the other side. So again, I have my right foot forward. I'm gonna walk that hand to the outside edge first of all. I'm gonna anchor into my right hand. I'm gonna tuck my toes under my left foot, lift the back knee up, and as I rotate onto my side, my right leg is going to shoot out. I'm going to rotate onto the inside edge of my opposite foot and hold on this side. From here, we're going to rotate that hand. It's going to come forward as we step back through our plank, and then from our plank, lower down through chaturanga, baby cobra or up dog, and downward facing dog. Nice job. From here, we're going to come into three-legged dog again. This time we're going to add on a little bit. So we're going to bend into that knee, and we're going to rotate our hip open to that side. As we come back through center, we're going to drive the knee forward, land it behind the wrist on the same side, and then try to rotate that foot open out to the side. We'll drop our back knee down, extend through our back foot, and you can walk that back leg or shift that back leg a little bit farther. We are going to stay upright to start, so feel free to stay here, or if you would like, you can start to come down a little lower. So as you lower down, thinking about trying to keep your hips level, so not falling over onto one side. You can stay down on your forearms, or you can take it out a little bit farther if you'd like to start to extend through your arms and bring your chest a little closer to the floor. You can rest your head down on your mat. Just going into whatever option feels good for you. If you are out in that full extension, you can start to walk your hands back in, so you're coming back up onto your forearms. If you're down on your forearms, you can start to come back up onto your hands. And from here, we are going to try to transition back up into our three-legged dog or our sun dog, where we had our hip open to the side. We're gonna add on a little bit more, so we're gonna really try to open up and flip the dog. So if you're not comfortable doing this, feel free to go to the level that you are comfortable. So if you wanna hold in three-legged dog or in sun dog, that's an option. So we're gonna to do that, we're gonna tuck our toes under. We're gonna lift that front leg up, push all the way up and back, three-legged dog, open up into sun dog, and then we're gonna keep rotating open to reach here. So again, go to whatever level you're comfortable with. Then push back up off that foot, come back to three-legged dog, and land in downward facing dog. Nice job. So we're gonna work through the other side. So other leg reaches up, three-legged dog, open up through sun dog. And then bring those hips forward, land the knee behind the wrist on the same side, rotate that foot open, drop the back knee down, extend through the back foot. Starting in our more upright pigeon. You want to start to transition down onto your forearms, you can do that now. If you would like to take it even farther, you always have the option of extending out through those arms, bringing your chest closer to the floor. Hold for a few more breaths. And then we are going to flip the dog on the other side. If you are in that full extension, you can start to slide your arms back in. So on your forearms. If you're on your forearms, you can come walk up onto your hands. And we are going to try to flip the dog on the other side. So tucking your toes under on that back foot. Need to shift forward a bit so I actually can grab onto my mat there. From here, we're going to push all the way up and back, coming into our sun dog. And then we're going to rotate open and flip the dog on the other side. Push off that foot, come back to your three-legged dog, and land in your downward dog. From here, let's shift forward into our plank, and we're going to lower all the way down onto our mat. So as I said earlier, we are going to finish off, or one of our finishing poses is going to be a bow pose. So we're going to kind of get ready to do that now. So we're going to start with our arms extended out overhead. We're going to start off by doing a Superman. So if your shoulders bother you, feel free to have them down at your sides to start. But I'm just going to have you kind of wake up your back and your shoulders a little bit again. So we're going to lift our opposite arm, opposite leg first. Lift up and lower down. Other side, lift up and lower down. Now we'll do both. So both arms, both legs, lift up and hold here. So squeezing through your glutes, squeezing through your back. And lower back down. From here, I'm going to have you slide your hands in. We're going to come back into that Sphinx pose. So our forearms are kind of our props here. Elbows are underneath our shoulders. Okay. From here, we are going to lower all the way back down. And then our arms are going to reach back behind us. We're going to bring our feet together. Our feet are extended, toes are pointed. We're going to try to lift our chest as we lift both legs up off the ground. So we're going to lift and hold here. And lower back down. Nice job. Bring our hands back to the front. We're going to come back into that kind of Sphinx. But we're going to cross one hand kind of over. So it can be on a diagonal, or it can come right around so that it is kind of at a 90-degree angle with our other arm. Our arm that's still pointed straight ahead, so this one here, we are going to bend into our knee on that same side. From here, we are going to try to reach back with this hand and grab onto that leg. And we're just going to hold here to start. So I like having my front arm on kind of that diagonal versus straight across. It feels a little bit better for my shoulder. But again, kind of do what you are comfortable with. Let's release that foot and come all the way back down. You can rest your head down on your arms for a moment. Your forehead can be down or forehead out to the side, whatever you are more comfortable with. Good. Let's come back up to that Sphinx on the other side. So coming up onto our forearms, we're going to rotate our other hand either to that diagonal or coming all the way across. From here, we are going to bend into our knee that's on the same side as that front arm. And then we're going to try to reach back and grab onto that foot. So still trying to maintain our chest lift a little bit here. Release that foot. Coming all the way back down. Let's push back into child's pose here, just to kind of counteract all that back bending that we're doing before we come into our full bow pose to kind of finish off class today. Good. From here, we'll shift all the way back into our kneeling plank. And then from here, lower all the way back down to your mat, and arms are going to extend out back behind you. So to do bow pose, basically we are going to try to grab onto both feet as we did as we were working kind of one side at a time just a few moments ago before we went into our child's pose. So to start, we're going to just bend into both of our knees, so bring our heels in close behind you. You can either try to grab onto both at the same time, or you can go one at a time. Once you have a hold of both, you're going to try to lift your chest up a little higher, lift your knees up off the floor, and just really try to get as much lift up as you can. Keep those knees as together as you can. Breathe. And release. Hands to the under your shoulders. Push up and back, child's pose. So we're going to spend the next minute or so here to kind of finish off our class. If you'd like to come into a final relaxation or Savasana after this, you're welcome to. I'm not going to finish with that today. We are going to stay in our child's pose. So if you would like to bring your arms down to your sides again, as we did before, you're welcome to kind of rest there. After a bow pose, it's kind of nice to finish with more of an extended child's pose to really release any kind of tension in your lower back. And just focusing on your breathing here. You can feel the breath filling your belly on top of your legs from this pose. So again, just really try to focus on getting some nice deep breaths in here. If you need to, you can widen the stance of your knees a little bit, kind of coming in between your legs a little bit more. And from here, we'll just start to walk our hands kind of back in. We can push up on to our knees, and we can finish just with a nice kneel here. So if you have any questions about today's class or any of the poses that we did today, again, feel free to just leave them in the comments and I will get back to you. If you're looking for more virtual fitness classes, you can find a complete calendar on the CAF Connection website, and it'll show you all of the classes that all of the bases are doing across Canada, so feel free to check that out. Once again, my name is Heather, so if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments and I will get back to you, and I will see you guys again next time. Thanks for joining.